indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dean, what do you got?
Oh, all right, so dispatching software, right now we're with a company called Route Match. The last couple of years, Route Match has been bought out twice, once by Uber, and then bought out by a company called TripSpark. The week before our budget was to start at the end of June, they send us, our fees were, so our maintenance fees were $3,000. And then our hosting fees was on top of that, was another almost $4,000. They sent me a bill just for maintenance fees of $21,000. So that got our region started looking, we've been looking at different software prior to this because their service has just been awful. I got them down to $11,800 finally. First of all, they dropped to $15,800, then $11,800. So that's for just the service fees, the service and maintenance fees. They want us to switch over to their other platform. Their other platform is a one-time fee of $92,700, and then their maintenance fee would be almost $17,000 a year, and their hosting fees would be another $14,000 a year. So they want us to go to their other service. We found another company called TripMaster. We, as in the region. Johnson County's going with this TripSpark. They got a lot more money than we got apparently. But the other 5 of us in the region found this company called TripMaster. We went and visited a place out in Nebraska that has them. Fits the needs that we're gonna, what we need it for. It's very simple, it's not a complex system. A one-time fee of about $36,000, and it would be about $12,000 yearly. So to me, it's a no-brainer to switch to these guys here. Like I said, the TripSpark, the other one, their fees, the 3% or 5% every year is going to go up. They listed it here. It's just, I can't justify spending that kind of money. There's money, EasyCog's got money for us to go to this software. So what I'm going to do is amend my budget, because we have to pay for it, and then they're going to reimburse us. So it's going to look bad on one side, but then it's going to come through and reimburse us. So I just want your approval to, Lynn County already got their approval from their board to go to this TripMaster. Jones County's going to their board today. That's why I wanted to get this in front of you guys today. Switch over to this TripMaster and get away from this Route Match TripSpark people.
You said maintenance fees, 12?
Yeah, they put their maintenance fees, I didn't bring the whole, they put their maintenance fees and everything all in one. Their maintenance fees and everything is all in one for, and I'm going to subtract a little bit of this, so it's going to be less than $12,000, but that's going to be the high part. Sure. This is going to be about $12,000. They have their maintenance fees and everything. They're always updating it. Okay. I just thought that blew me away at 21. I mean, I'm on the phone with them right away. Yeah. It's still too high. I already told them it's still too high. But the other thing I'm going to do is pay half of it, because we want to get this implemented before the end of the year. So I'm only paying half of that $11,800, and that's. I've been fighting with them for a couple months now. This TripMaster, it took them one day to get me a quote. TripSpark had to push and push and push. It took over 2 months to get a quote from them. So, they're more responsive. Got good, like I said, out in Nebraska, we wouldn't go, they said on the spot, they said within 15 minutes, they're really trying to get results if you have a help desk ticket. I just want your blessing to switch over to this TripMaster.
Well, it sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Absolutely.
You can amend the current year?
What's that?
You can send me an amendment amount?
Yes, I'll send you an amended amount on that.
I know you're out, so just let me know if it's that line item.
No, still new one.
Well, it would be that line item.
Okay.
I'll send you the amount though.
Yeah, perfect.
What's this 35,845?
That's a setup fee, one-time fee. Well, they're $6,000. The other company is $92,000. I didn't show you this, I'm sorry. $92,000 setup fee. And then they have maintenance fee plus your hosting fees.
That's the one that you work with.
Yes, which they bought up this,
Correct.
they bought out our current one and want us to switch to their other one.
Yeah.
Get mixed reviews on it. Jones County is trying to work with their IT department on that route match side, and they said they're gonna dissolve it, so we just wanna cut ties and be done with them. We've been looking anyways in the last year, and that's the one that stuck out. We looked at that one, we looked at Eco Lane was another one, so, and Eco Lane, their quote come in pretty high too.
I don't know, do we need to do formal action for him to switch over to Tripmaster?
Well, I would say if you're gonna be okay with his budget amendment amount, to give him that blessing so that I can get that put in.
I don't know that we have a choice. Yeah.
The hearing is in a few weeks, so his will be listed in there for sure.
Mine will be listed, but like I said, once
Yeah.
we pay for this, Easy Cog's gonna write us a check for the same amount.
The revenue will
Correct.
offset it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a pass-through amount.
Other than the monthly.
Yes, yeah. And they might, we're gonna do a 5-year contract with them is what we're looking at. And they brought the cost at a pretty good, they're gonna keep it the same for 5 years. And I think that money is gonna cover the 5 years on that.
So are we locked in a contract with Route Match now? Do you have to give them notice?
They never made us sign one when they sold.
So they don't have to?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's why we can't, it's awful. It raises my blood pressure every time I have to talk to them.
Here's your other one.
They talked about it quite often, for quite a long time at Easy Cog last week, so.
Yeah. It's just time to make a move now, since, like I said, right before July, week before the budget, they said that.
Now, are you gonna get new iPads?
Yep, that's with tablets and everything.
That's what I thought.
Yep,
What they said they're willing to pay for each county.
a lot.
Yeah.
We won't touch that.
Oh, really? Okay.
We'll probably be at, because we're gonna do it on 5 years, and they're gonna pay for the 5 years, so I won't have any expense for 5 years on these.
Okay. That's the way, they talked about it quite a lot,
Yep,
so I was not surprised, so.
okay.
I'll give you a nod, but if you wanna make a motion, we can put it.
Well,
I'll let you-
he's gonna bring it in for the,
Like a 5
it'll be
year.
on the budget amendment.
Okay.
It's gonna be for 5 years
Yeah.
worth of service fees and stuff like
Discuss
that.
and approve how it's listed on the agenda, so,
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the new dispatch software.
okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you got
With
it.
Tripmaster.
Tripmaster.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep.
Have a good week.
Yeah.
9:05. Braxton.
Oh,
Yes.
if I could turn it in for you.
Katie and Michelle, you can come in
Me and Chai.
up there.
I do have to go there.
We can do the minutes real fast. You see anything wrong?
So, I didn't see anything wrong.
Okay.
And seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are done.
All right, appreciate your time, good morning. You all know me. We are here on behalf of the Suicide Prevention Coalition this morning. I think you all three are on the email list, so you should be aware that this was started back in April. We've been trying to be very active in the community and raise awareness and just education advocacy around suicide prevention. I am here today requesting that you proclaim September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month for Benton County. Nationally, it has been proclaimed as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and at the state level for a long time. So I'll just read Resolution 23-62. Whereas suicide has the ability to affect anyone of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds, and whereas in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, suicide may have ripple effects on family and community members, contributing to substance use disorder, major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and future suicidality. And whereas suicide is the 8th leading cause of death among Iowans and has been elevated in Benton County in recent years. And whereas deaths by suicide are preventable with awareness, recognition, training, and outreach. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the Benton County Board of Supervisors, in and for Benton County, on behalf of all staff and citizens of Benton County, that the month of September 2023 is hereby proclaimed as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
I'll make a motion that we do proclaim September Suicide Prevention Month, Awareness Month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So you want to sign your copy and then I'll get.
Yeah, par for the course of last time, a picture, please. I know you're excited, Tracy.
Hey, I got a smile on it, I'll take it.
Where do you want us to stand?
You can stand in front of the room and I'll grab it for you.
Still in front of the flag.
In front of the flag?
Yeah.
And sign that, then you can hold the confirmation if you want.
Nancy, how are you?
Oh, he let me hold it?
Arms over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You can hold him, but he's still, he's trying to get over here.
Disregard. Oh, you were on the phone, that's fine.
He's used to it.
We'll do whatever is necessary for you. Protect and serve.
Thanks, guys, for doing this.
Yeah, appreciate it.
This is quite an effort, and we got a lot of passion behind what we're doing. So, and if you're available, when's the walk?
Sunday,
Yeah, okay.
Sunday, September 10th, from 7 to 9 is the suicide
So if you want to come over and walk a little bit.
Step forward, we'll slide in behind.
Where's the walk at?
It's at Benton Community at the track.
Oh, okay.
Yep, come on over and.
Okay, we gotta do a little here, you guys moved over.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really? Okay. There we go. Okay.
A little bit further there, young man. No, you're okay. Come on in, guys.
As long as we're good.
Step on the dog, stay.
There you go, you try to hide, there you go.
There you go. Well,
Okay.
He's turned away.
All right, we should be good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, appreciate it.
And you guys better come over and harvest onions, we're just about done. Carrots are next. Woo-hoo! Oh, boy. Thanks for coming, Linda.
Yeah, no problem.
Easy.
Yep.
You're up.
I'm up. Okay, good morning. I have a couple handouts for you. I had a meeting with the department leads to talk about employee evaluations. Since I learned that maybe those haven't been done consistently or in some departments at all. We talked about the importance of giving employee feedback, and we met as a group to go over some different examples of evaluations, and we agreed on a format, and the group was in agreement about putting it in place and doing it on an annual basis to give employees feedback, as well as doing a 90-day and a 6-month review, so that we can make sure employees are getting information about their job and understand how to do their job, and getting that feedback so that we can get them kind of on a corrective path if we see any concerns during the start of their career. So we picked a form, and then we talked about putting a policy in place to just guide how these would be delivered, when these would be delivered, what would happen if an employee had a disagreement with an evaluation, that sort of thing. So we put this policy together, and it did have Ray review it as well, and he thought it looked like it covered everything from a legal perspective. So would like to move forward with implementing those, if you're in agreement with that, and would also like to ask you to do the evaluations in conjunction with me for the department leads, to make sure that leads are getting evaluations as well.
questions.
Okay.
way she's got it set up right now, it'd be all three of us doing the, see, before it was always,
Well, before that, it was all
Yeah,
three.
we always used to
Oh,
do
what?
it in the boardroom, and
Okay.
then, the chairman or whoever would do the write-up.
Yeah,
So I would-
yeah, and I like the fact that she would be heading it up.
my only question is, if we're gonna have a review, us three together, then it's gonna have to be posted at the meeting.
And then they go into closed session, is how we've done it.
Okay.
You know,
Just have to make sure that employee requests.
the employee usually requests that.
Okay.
And Haley would, you know, list it on the agenda, the possible closed session, yeah.
How soon do you wanna start this, Susan?
Well, we talked about announcing it at the county meeting next week, letting employees know. And it's a two-part evaluation. The first part is for them to kind of evaluate themselves. This is how I think I've done this year. These are things I need support from my manager so I can continue to do well, that sort of thing. And then they would return those to the department heads, and then the department heads, they'd return those by September 30th, and then department heads would have the whole month of October, and then all evaluations due by October 31st. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, but we have the form already that everybody agreed to. It's a pretty simple form, not super complicated, and just thought no better time to start than the present. Some people have been here 20 years and never had any formal feedback about their job, so I think, you know, it's good on both ends to get that. It's good to have documentation if we need that down the line, and it's good to give positive feedback about, you know, what they're doing well at, that keeps morale high and that sort of thing.
So do you need a motion to approve this?
So what you do, or
I believe
what
so.
you do,
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we approve the recommended performance review.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. The next thing I have for you is automated time and attendance system that I think, Haley, correct me if I'm wrong, has this been talked about in the past a little bit?
I don't know that it's been brought to the board, but it's a part of our software that we have capability of adding, so.
So you have two sheets there. One is a stapled sheet, and then the second one is just kind of a handout on all the benefits of going automated for time and attendance. So, again, as I've been talking to staff and just kind of, you know, learning about the county and things, a few things that people have expressed frustration on is sometimes errors with timesheets, and I think when you're doing everything by paper and manual calculations, there is a higher chance of errors. It's time consuming, both on the part of the employee, the supervisor, and the auditor's office that's currently doing all the manual entries and manual calculations. So some benefits of going automated are the employees would enter their time themselves, and they'd be able to see what they did. So they could enter it and then they could see it, and it could be like, oh, I transposed that number, that isn't right, and they can correct it. Or They can see it week after week. They can see their leave time. It automatically does a leave time calculation. They see that balance. There aren't any manual calculations involved. There's all kinds of features. You can run all kinds of different reports on it. There's just a lot of positives. Less paper, so saving expenses on paper and printing, which would be really huge. Everyone can see their paycheck stub within their system. People can use just their phones to clock in. It has features, if we ever wanted to add them, called geofencing, which means if you have employees that are clocking in remotely, and maybe you have some suspicion that they're still at home and they're clocking in instead of waiting to go to the office and clock in, or waiting, this might be more in the case of those remote shed workers that we have. If there's ever a concern that maybe they're not clocking in at their workstation, you can put some geofencing in where you can see where they clocked in, and then it was actually at their home and not at work, and so, you can be aware of those types of things and address them. The Tyler Technologies, the benefit of this system is that we already have this system for everything, and so it would just be partnering and uploading everything into this system. So if you look at the page 2, that's the cost outlay of implementing this. The first column that I highlighted, it would be the one-time fee. And that includes the software, the training, integrating everything, setting everything up, and then on an annual basis, it'll be that second column. The reoccurring fees, that's what it would be every year after. So Gary, it's on this paper, on this one, on page 2 of that one, I highlighted the costs.
What do you two feel on this? You guys have the most employees.
Well, one of my questions that came up Friday afternoon when I seen it was on the agenda, I know that Sue has talked it out in my office and expressed some questions, concerns, but certainly not opposition, just questions that secondary roads in general across the state has had some challenges, difficulties with automated payroll systems. Not to say that this one is that case, but with secondary roads needing to also do a Iowa DOT report, so we've got that DOT code that needs to be, it's in Tyler already that we're using, but you need to account for a DOT code for every hour that secondary roads employees perform work. And my question is going to be, how does it integrate to the Tyler system? Well, it's already a Tyler system. So the other question that would be is, secondary roads does 95% of the payroll entry into the system, not the auditor's office. We do our employees outside of the withholdings and the taxes. Is that information all then just going to come into Tyler the same way, and that Deb would be reviewing it before it goes to the auditor's office, or are we avoiding that or skipping that step? And maybe it's been luck on our part, but errors are rare, if ever, in secondary roads right now. So I don't know, how much better this would be, other than maybe it's a little quicker to get that information to us. The last thing would be is whether you get any pushback from employees working at the remote locations as to whether they need to use their own personal device to submit this time. All of those working out of the shop, I would propose that a tablet or a computer that would be set up just for that they could go to and do, instead of having to use their personal device, if that's an option with the system. But it would be a convenient use of a single unit, type of thing at the secondary roads office, but you'd have 11 remote individuals. The geofencing has some, positive thoughts to that, but you are potentially asking to use their personal device to do that, and whether there's willingness, interest on their part, or there's pushback. That would be a question.
Yeah, all good points for sure. As far as these codes you're talking about, I have talked to a couple other counties that have that same thing, and it is doable. And so they said, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but they've had success with it. They have had positive feedback with it, even with those that maybe were against it in the beginning. They kind of started to see, okay, yeah, this isn't as bad. Change is hard, change is scary. Another neat feature about it is your department in particular calculates overtime different than different departments. And so we can set up different parameters so that automatically, when your guy goes over 8 hours, it's already, making that calculation. Whereas if it's somebody in the treasurer's office or whatever that wouldn't calculate it until over 40, it can make those, it can add the comp time in there. That's another thing that I think is a manual calculation, and then it's, a hard thing we're all keeping track of on paper, and so that would be another benefit that you can, see in there. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yep, they saw that. And then as far as your question with, would Deb still be involved, or those are, again, things we can set up uniquely per department. So maybe you want Deb to be your designee, and you want her to have the final look through or approval of hours, or maybe you want it to go to Doug to do the actual approval, and then Deb hits the submit to the system, that actually get the button to get you paid. You can set up different parameters for that, as different offices might work differently. Smaller offices, maybe just one person wants to do that, but other offices, you can have some designees to help you in approving, especially you two that have larger departments. So I think they really try to cater to the different departments, the different needs of different departments. And yeah, you're right, there may be some resistance with, using the device, but I think that's where that kind of falls on me to sell it to them, so to speak, and to show them all the benefits of that. And I think, again, when they see kind of some of the benefits of that, how quick it is. I mean, it takes a bit of time to get the piece of paper, to write all that stuff out, where it's just click, 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 898989, submit, and then they can go back and look. They can see all that at a glance. They can see it on the go. Maybe somebody's a weekend away and somebody says, hey, can you take next Friday off to do this? Well, I don't know, my timesheet's back at the office, I don't know how much vacation I have. They could just log on and see how much vacation they have and be able to, make those commitments. So I think there's a lot of benefits once, we explain it to staff. I think it would definitely be making sure we take the time to explain it to them thoroughly.
And I watched the video, and so for the sheriff's office, use the law enforcement as an example, you can even do scheduling on there. So if somebody needs to switch days, or they can put out there, I'm available these days, or can I have this day off? I mean, there's so much you can do with scheduling as well as keeping track of hours worked.
I'm not against it. I would have one division that would utilize the technology end of it, so to speak. The rest of them would do it at work.
If you did something like this, would it all be implemented full package immediately at a certain given date, or would it be done in small groups and stages, so to speak?
It sounds like they recommend just doing it all in one plug, but it's a process. I mean, we have to gather a lot of data. If we said yes to this today, we probably wouldn't be live for 6 months. We'd want to make sure all the department leads knew how to use the program. We'd want to make sure the staff was educated. We'd want to make sure we had devices for use. If somebody doesn't have a smartphone per se, how are they going to log their hours? that sort of thing, so,
Was it a one-time fee? Did they tell you the cost or anything?
yes, I didn't have a copy of that.
Oh, I knew it was an add-on to what we currently have, so.
Yeah,
And that has come down tremendously from 6 years ago.
the what, the cost?
The cost, because at that time, Alicia was working for you. She and I watched a webinar on it, and it was astronomical. But the webinar they had recently said that they are on it. This is different from what they've had before, and it's updated.
I think again, just, always thinking to worst case scenario, if somebody ever would have a complaint about, the Fair Labor Standards relating to, I wasn't paid my overtime, or this was miscalculated, it would be quite hard to go through all those timesheets and verify that this, if somebody claims they weren't paid for something, it's so easy to run reports and be able to provide that documentation in the case of, an employee complaint or grievance regarding not getting paid accurately, rather than going through all that paper. And again, just the time saving for the auditor's office and the employee.
Would it be smart to plant the seed next week at the meeting to the employees?
To let them know that, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And kind of touch on some of the benefits of why
Yes.
we're going in that direction.
Right.
Mhm.
See what kind of feedback you get.
I had somebody ask about it this morning. Hey, we should put this online. I said,
about setting up a time to do
okay, I see what you're saying, but it's gonna have to be in conjunction with a lot of other moving pieces here. I would like to say that
She gave me all her information.
generally speaking, if there's a mistake made on a timesheet, it's generally found and it's the employee's error and they cheated themselves out of time or pay. It's usually the way that works.
And we always, if we do a change, talk to the department head or that employee, Nancy does.
Yeah, I usually call the department head and said, hey, I'm looking at this timesheet. I found this, you approved this, how do you want me to handle it? And I make errors too. Just this last payroll, I missed somebody's overtime, 2 hours of overtime. So I make sure it gets on the next payroll.
Go?
Sure.
I'm for it, but I just thought, instead of doing something today, plant the seed next week, see what kind of feedback you get from the employees at the meeting.
I'm surprised we haven't done this a long time ago.
Well,
It's
we've brought it up, but,
been a little costly from what
and
I
like she said,
hear.
they've improved.
Yeah.
When I would speak to other counties, they were like,
Don't
don't
do it.
do it yet, because they
Sure.
have a lot of kinks to work out.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's already in the system that we have, so it sounds like it makes sense to me.
And the department head still has to sign off and approve.
Exactly.
Instead of signing the piece of paper, they're going in and looking at their employees. And then, like Sue said, they have to hit submit.
Sure.
And then it gets sent to my software, where I just go in and make sure everybody's in there, and then I go on with my normal payroll procedures.
So, I just want to make sure I know the direction or I understand where we're at with it, because, I mean, if we put it in their hands and say, do you want this, or are you okay with this? I'm not sure if that's the wisest approach. I mean, change is hard. If we ask them, I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know. I mean, there could be people that say, no, I like the way we're doing it, no. So,
You're asking for approval according to the agenda, you know, I don't have a problem with it.
And then that's kind of why I put the fiscal year 24 budget amendment too, because I didn't know where you were at.
So.
right, and then financial wise, yeah, I think I'd have to do a budget adjustment.
Right.
And so I think that time frame is coming up too, which is,
Because the one-time fee is 47,920.
That includes the 5,300
yeah,
though.
that's in there. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
1 year's worth. And then a year from now,
Right.
we'd be at 5,300 every year thereafter.
So would it, you said it's a 6-month, or would we be wise in saying next fiscal year, July 1?
So you'd have to do some conversions and probably up to the software people too, right?
Right, yeah.
When did all the kinks?
Once we sign it, then we get a project manager, and then they just kind of work with us every step of the way, and they say, what's your end goal, you know, what's your time frame, and so we can talk about that. But they said a minimum of 6 months to make sure. And again, we want to make sure we took the time to train employees and that they felt comfortable with it. That's a huge, nobody's going to like something that they don't understand, so, you know, I understand that's going to be a big time investment of me, and I'm, you know, happy to do that. Go out to sites, do multiple trainings to talk about how it works and the benefits and that sort of thing, so.
Does that person do any of the training with us as well?
Yeah, yeah, we'll have some individualized based on different levels of permissions, and again, depending on how Myron wants to set his up. Deb may be part of some of those, may not, Doug may, you know, however you want to set up your hierarchy. So we have to be having meetings saying, who do you want to approve your hours? Who do you want to hit the submit button? Who do you want to have the ability to make changes? You can lock down all those different permissions.
I'll make a motion that we approve this system, get it set up.
I'll second it.
Okay, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. And then I have one more item, and, another handout, system for me, really. That's just one example. I'm not necessarily asking for approval on that particular company, I just wanted to give you an idea of cost-wise. So this item is in regards to background checks and driver's license checks. So background checks are currently done through the sheriff's office, and they've indicated that, you know, based on workload, they don't always have the time to do it. They also aren't able to run out of state. And when I was talking to Ray about this as well, you know, he said he's hired somebody that hasn't lived in Iowa their whole life. And so we're missing maybe something that came up in another state if we're not doing a background check that's a little more thorough to get out of state, any out of state crimes that may have been committed. And so I'd like to request that we look at using an outside vendor for the background checks, both to not have to rely on the sheriff's office and their limited time, probably get a little bit of a quicker turnaround since that's all they do is background checks rather than all their other duties. And be able to get a more comprehensive background to make sure we hit those people that maybe have relocated here and have had some time out of state. And then the driver's license, kind of same thing. They can do that as well. You know, just want to preserve the confidentiality of that. As an example, you know, maybe we have an employee that got an OWI. They reported it to their supervisor. Their supervisor said, you know what, that's not going to affect your job. I'm okay keeping you on. You know, they talked through it, worked through it. And then if that, you know, then when the annual driver's license gets check gets run, and then that gets caught, if it's not done kind of externally, then, you know, there's just more chance that that information gets out to other people, and just another effort to protect confidentiality of employees and their private records.
So would they be doing the yearly check for the insurance
Yeah.
company then?
Yeah.
And submitting that to Heartland?
believe it's only $23.
Or was that per background check?
So that's a background check. I don't have, again, this is just one that, again, on that county, I'm in this group of county HR people to just try to say, what are you doing? What works for you? That sort of thing. This was one company, it's located in Cedar Rapids, that several of them said they've had good luck with. Not suggesting this one by any means, certainly able and willing to shop around. Just wanted to give you a ballpark that I think it's gonna be around that cost. It's not like we do a ton of hiring, but again, just to keep it confidential.
There's no annual fee to, so it's just so much per
Yeah.
investigation, more or less.
Right, yeah.
Well, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Nancy, when you send in for Heartland with their driver's license, do you request the information from each employee? Have you had any,
What I do.
violations this year, that type of thing? Or do you actually do an MVR check?
MVR check,
Okay,
is the way Heartland wants it.
okay.
And so I go through the Iowa IDOT, they've got a website that we can use. And it's the same one we use when we hire, when we run their DL. I print it off for each employee and that gets put in their private folder. But that's also scanned into the system and put on a thumb drive that I seal up and
Send to Heartland.
Heartland, you have taken hand delivered to me, for me, so that it doesn't go through the mail.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And they
Is it-
require it, and they look for, they've got a point system for insurance-wise too.
Is there a fee to run that MVR per employee or not?
No,
Okay, so my question would be, on the annual basis, does this company charge, what is it, $16.30 per employee on an annual basis? You start throwing 130 employees or so.
we're running 160 records average.
160, okay. So, you do 160 times 1630, that's a chunk of change. And that's an annual cost. I get this part, I really do, so.
And hers was back.
There's combined.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's different.
So how do you currently handle your drug testing and things of that nature? I imagine sheriff's office also has to, your guys, I know CDLs have to, that's what I know. So you're already set up with a consortium?
They go to Virginia Gay,
Okay.
or they have to go to the Benton. Heartland requires them to go here.
Okay.
And,
We have a separate policy on that with transportation and Myron.
Okay, so there's a consortium, a pool that gets pulled randomly and that kind of thing.
the DOT does that, pulls and notifies the employee that they need to go.
DOT does that, okay.
It's through a clearinghouse, it's just like a random, through a federal clearinghouse.
Really?
And then,
Okay.
yeah.
I know on our end, that's handled by, we're through St. Luke's, and St. Luke's does that for us.
Yeah.
But, okay.
There's a third party in Cedar Rapids that Benton County uses
Okay,
that does the
random,
pooling.
okay,
I receive that information as to who has been selected, and then
oh, yeah,
we send those drivers to the Benton clinic if it's a drug screen,
mhm,
or CJ Cooper's office in Hiawatha. I know that Dean has utilized that because it works better for him. With some of his bell point drivers particularly.
Sure.
Making routine runs to Cedar Rapids, and then we use the sheriff's office to do the alcohol screening.
mhm. Okay. So that was my question, because if we're, go with a company the random testing and/or the annual DL, MVRs, that looks like, according to this, is going to be additional expense.
That's true, it would be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The breathalyzer, the sheriff's office does it, but, and I presume you're not sending a bill for that, so, yeah.
There's time involved. I mean, I just asked Nancy the question on driver's license
Right.
annual run as to how long that takes, and she indicated it's about a full day's
Oh, yeah.
task. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. Especially when she has to put it in their files, you're still gonna have to do that.
No, she wouldn't have to do that. It would
She
just be
wouldn't?
maintained in there.
Oh, I'll be darned.
She wouldn't have to do anything.
So you'd have to compare the costs,
Sure.
Now, I
Makes
don't know if
sense.
this is proposing the drug and alcohol random screening, I guess, aspect of it, Sue and I have had that conversation already, but I was envisioning this as just your background check on a new employee, and I don't know if you're proposing the motor vehicle check on the initial employee and the annual, or just the annual aspect that Hardly requires, but
Yeah. Okay.
I think the thought process was just, again, in just trying to, a theme that I hear a lot about is just people concerned about confidentiality. And so by saying our third party that is removed from all of us is doing these things, you don't have to worry if you had a speeding ticket and then somebody's going to find out about it and tell somebody, we just get these results, and it's not, that was one of the driving forces of this.
Sure.
Just, with the driving records, with the background checks, with all of that stuff.
Well,
If a red flag is showing up, it should really just be between, the department lead, HR, and the employee, and was just trying to get at a way to keep that kind of separate.
And, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, but we are talking a few thousand,
Right.
so.
And I certainly could shop around and see if we could, find something better than the 16 for sure. I guess I wasn't necessarily asking for this package, but just asking for approval to look at an outside vendor for these options, and then maybe we revisit the particular package and the costs or whatever, but just if you were in agreement that maybe it was a good idea to outsource that piece of things.
I don't have a problem outsourcing it, I really don't. And then, it's gonna cost a few bucks, there's no doubt. And I personally like to see the different packages
Sure.
available, different third-party costs.
Sounds good.
But that's my take on it. Gentlemen?
I'm all for it. The only thing I was wondering about, can we just do it on the new hirees? Anybody that's interested, when we have to do a background check? And then leave the status quo alone as for the drug testing, the way it's set up right now?
Yeah, Myron and I had talked about that early on, and I only just asked who he was using, because I was trying to see, sometimes if you bundle background and drug, you might get a better deal. And so, but, he's happy with CJ Cooper. I've talked to them. That's totally fine if you want to keep with them and don't want to look at any other options for them. That's fine with me. Yep.
Well, I'm all for you can investigate into this more, see what
Okay.
else there is out there,
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
okay? And how about your budget amendment?
You will have one, won't you?
I will. I didn't have those numbers today because,
That's fine.
yes, I wasn't sure what your thoughts were on this, but I have until the next, do I have a certain date, Haley, to?
Well, I would probably like the figures by the end of the week. we could, because I have to get my public notice ready.
And I'd asked Ben as far as IT funds for any of the software stuff, and he said something about lost funds that might use some
Right,
of.
so we'll have to look at that for an amendment though.
Okay, so-
Because that initial 57,000, he probably didn't have budgeted for is what he was.
Right, okay, yep. Okay, I'll work with Haley to get those numbers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
You've been busy.
Yep. Keep them busy.
Well, we're a little way behind, but
Sorry about that.
Kara,
Good morning. I grouped the credit card things together.
Oh,
So
okay,
If you did it
yep.
in one, because I know, not to speak on your behalf,
Yeah,
but Grace Petrozelka would like possibly a credit card for her department, for her travels and things that you have to purchase online. I know she was okay with the $2,000 limit, and the reason I have to put this in a motion, because we have to provide that stuff to the bank, so they can get it set up. And then Shelby and Kara need a possible increase in their limit. And that too, you guys have to make that motion.
So my card is currently set at $1,200. I think, I've talked to a couple department heads, I think most limits are either $2,000 or $2,500 per card. I'm not sure what yours is on right now. Yep. Because of the grant that I receive every year from the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs, and needing to spend the full $10,000 now instead of just $5,000, I'm needing to spend more money spend more grant money. And it would be easier, like I just placed a large order last week, it would be easier if I could, like maybe once a month or however, just kind of spend it, get it out of the way, rather than like spend $1,200, wait until that process is through and the vendor gets paid, farmers, then go in and do it again, take care of more at once.
Sure. So what's what are you looking typically? Is it 2,000 or 2,500?
I think so. I mean, a lot of them, like, so for example, if you're at a conference and you put your hotel on, sometimes it'll lock that up.
Sure,
so,
sure.
Which she is trying to purchase, but.
Okay. So,
Not, most generally, that a limit is enough for most departments, but
yeah.
it's like she's got a little different scenario, so does Shelby probably.
I'd like to go to $2,500 if I could.
And then mine's substantially higher. So right now, we're working on the shop. And we had a camper hook us up with a Whirlpool discount, which was pretty awesome. And in order to do that, we have to purchase our appliances online. So I can't purchase everything we need for the shop or the interior at the friends and family discount without a credit card increase. So the $2,500 is working great for us for the most part. It's fine, but it's not working during the shop. So I was gonna ask for an increase of up to like $6,000 until the shop's done, and then you guys can drop it back down. That would work, just so we have this flexibility for anything like that. Because some places don't let us create an account, like a government account. Or by the time that we get one created, the shop will be done, yeah.
Some will do the direct billing because we're tax exempt, but some won't.
Yeah, or like to get this discount, we can't, so. But it's saving us $2,000 to use this, just I need a credit card increase, so.
So I would think for Shelby, like you said, then you could go back and
Yeah, change it after.
change it back down. So you
The
don't,
motion would be that we bump it up to $6,000 until the Hannon Lake project is completed, then it would drop back down. So, and then you've also got for Grace with public health that you're looking at as well for credit card.
yeah,
So-
what she said too was fine, 2,000.
So, is it confusing where some's at 2 and some's at 25, or?
I think it just depended on back when we went to the individual credit cards, it was just on the individual basis. I mean, you don't want to leave it too high, like if
I know.
somebody's,
Yep.
We used our full 25 before, like if Milwaukee's doing a good deal and it works out, or something, you know, like.
And then I just remind everybody, we have that credit card policy, make sure you turn in your invoices in the timely manner.
Okay. All right. Well, to keep rolling, I'd make a motion that we increase the credit card limits for Veterans Affairs to $2,500. That we would add a credit card for public health. Might as well make it the same amount, $2,500. Keep this simple. And that temporarily, we increase conservation up to a $6,000 limit until the Hen Lake project is completed. And then it would drop back to the $2,500 limit. That make sense?
Yep.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That work?
Yes, fantastic.
Good.
And just a call to the bank in.
Yep, once I get them to sign the minutes, usually I have to sign minutes and then I'll take it to the bank.
Okay. Inside minutes will be the next.
Probably, unless I get them signatures ahead of time.
That's fine.
Usually they want it an unofficial document.
Yeah, I think the link they said was good for 30 days, so we're just there, so.
Okay, Rick.
Our basement floor up there at the courthouse took a hit. We need to get something done with it. And
Took
that
a
paint is
hit.
flaking off, so it needs ground down.
Okay, good. You
So
got
I had a guy come price the poly floor, and then we looked at carpet too, which I really don't want, but carpet isn't gonna be cheaper. So, is it something you want me to pursue, or wait till, it's gonna be close to $10,000 if they put the poly or carpet. But the whole thing is the floor needs ground down because nothing's sticking to it anymore. It just keeps popping off, that paint that was neat.
So will you need an amendment for that, or do you have it within your other maintenance funds?
Well, we should have enough in our general.
If not, another.
Otherwise, if you want to do it as an amendment, it would,
I prefer not.
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you got it in your budget,
But it was, with the poly, they're gonna come in and grind that paint off and then fill the cracks, level as much as they can and smooth it out. But it was like $9,696. And carpet was $600 cheaper until they come in and grind it, and then they're gonna charge $30 an hour to grind the floor on top of that, so.
yeah, I'm not convinced that carpeting in that area is a great idea.
Our basement had to remind you, and had it
Yes.
get wet.
And then we track in stuff through the winter, and all the contractors that come in and out.
There are offices that have carpet, but it's not getting the traffic that you guys would do, so.
So, yeah, but it's something we need to take care of here eventually, or wait a year. I mean, that's.
It's in your budget,
Okay.
so it's your discretion, isn't it?
Do you want me to get more prices, or?
Well, I think when you're at a certain level, don't you have to, a certain dollar amount, don't you have to come in with bids or
It's
something?
always the best case to do, get a couple quotes.
Okay.
So if you're asked, you're not.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the poly stuff when I have quotes, so. Okay.
Question I would have with that, is that something they're gonna have to do on the weekend due to
Yeah, it would
fields?
come in on the weekend to do it.
Okay.
And that way it'd have to be ready by Monday for traffic, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, all right.
Before we go closed session, can we get Ron's stuff done too? Just to make it easier?
And would it take long to do number 4 and 5?
Nope. The fireworks permit's easy. The other amendment of that resolution was for one of your employees that we had the wrong rate on, Adrian. So that's why that had to be amended to change her rate of
That's,
pay and the date in there.
That's the resolution? Okay.
So we put her at the current contract price.
Gary, you wanna do that one? Change it?
I would move we amend resolution 2359 to 2108.
Okay.
I'll second that.
By resolution.
Primer, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye. Fireworks permit.
This is Bloomsbury.
Yep.
We do that every year.
Yep.
Yep.
I would recommend that we, or move that we give Bloomsbury Farm fireworks permit for September 27th.
Gary, you wanna grab that? Well, I would second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Sheriff Tibbet.
I need to table the hiring of a security officer. That application will remain open until the 9th of September, which will act on it after that date.
Okay.
And I am working on replacing vehicles for detectives, investigators, which are undercover type plane vehicles. I'm looking at used vehicles. I have located one at Irvin Motor that fits the bill, and one at Tyson Plain that fits. We're running on to the same thing for ordering vehicles as we did the last time. We'd be lucky to get them paid for out of this year's budget come next June again, just backlog. These are not used on regular patrol. The investigators drive them and they don't have the, I won't call it hard use, but the constant use. It's hard use. The patrol vehicles are used pretty hard. And they are just, what I looked at was I wanted under 30,000 miles. V6 power. One of them's quite a bit newer than the other, but they both fit the bill.
This one here don't say it's brand new?
No, it's a 21. I believe it's got either 12 or 16,000 on it.
Driven by a little old lady who only has to go to church on Sundays.
When the weather was nice.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot to add that.
And then moving forward, I have one that would be used on patrol to replace, and one more investigator's vehicle that we're still working on getting the last pickups that we ordered a year ago outfitted.
Yeah, it's on the very back page.
But I think they're gonna take care of that last pickup this week.
Have you a preference here, Ron?
I would take both of those.
Oh, you want both?
Yep.
Oh, this isn't one or the other.
I need both of them.
Okay.
And I know John was gonna work, is that what we were amending for? These amounts, do you know?
These?
You have this one in your budget for these?
They're in his budget, is that right?
Okay, because he thought he had to have a budget amendment for vehicles. Okay.
Okay.
Nope.
Sure. In case we don't do another one.
You need a motion to
Yes, I
approve
do.
this? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of those two vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
You want the price?
I'll get Haley official copies.
Yeah, because if you need them picked up at a time, remember for the claims, get those to us.
Want those by tomorrow? Okay.
Unless you want me to use these, but this one got cut
No,
off.
I'll get you the official one from the dealership.
Okay,
Reports?
yeah.
No.
I had a meeting last week, but there really isn't anything to report.
Okay. I had Easy Cog Eastern Iowa Trust Fund and pretty quiet, so I did know about what Dean come in about. So I already got that.
Okay.
Notes wrote on that too. So that's all I got.
So we're ready for Ray.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
We got anything else?
Okay, Ray.
Yeah, I'm over here.
Should we ask to go in the closed session then?
Yeah, they go into closed session.
I think he does.
He does?
Or can
Well,
we
this
just?
one's pending litigation, so it doesn't have to come from the employee, so.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session as per Iowa Code 21.51C.
Yep, and then read that to discuss strategy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. To discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation.
That's exactly what we're gonna do.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, wait, she's gotta shut everything down, Ray.
Remember how Brandon wanted to make sure we say all that stuff.